Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to focus on getting a great guitar tone at your home studio. We're going to look at 3 different methods and ways to record your acoustic guitar and when and why you might choose those different methods. I'm going to show you 1 technique using 1 microphone and 2 techniques using 2 microphones. We're going to listen to sound samples and figure out when and why you might use those different methods. Let's get into it. Now let's get back to looking at individual techniques for all 3 of these methods. The first technique is going to be using 1 mic, so 1 mono mic pointed at the guitar. So this is a great method if A, you only have 1 mic, this is the obvious one you're going to choose. B, this is just a really direct acoustic sound and is kind of like a foolproof time-tested method of recording an acoustic guitar. If I was stuck on a desert island and only had 1 position to record an acoustic guitar, it would be this one because it just works all the time. So this is pretty much achieved by using a condenser mic. It can be larger or small diaphragm. If you only have something like an SM57, this is also a method you're going to want to use. And what I usually do is start with it about 12 inches from the 12th fret. So you can think of 12 inches from the 12th fret. This is not necessarily a guaranteed best possible point, but it is a great starting point and really a consistent place to start with every time. If you want to get a little bit more room sound, you can scoot it back. You can scoot it a little closer, but not too much because you'll be getting just too direct of a sound. With the acoustic, you want to let it bloom a little bit before it hits the mic. So a really time-tested sound. If you have someone doing a solo performance, it can be a really direct sound, so it can work well for that. It can also be something if you have a really busy, cluttered mix. It can be something that it just really puts the guitar, you can really place it somewhere and have it fill its role that way. You don't really deal with phase issues, so it's a really time-tested, great method to use. Let's take a look at this method. All right, so we're set up here with our 1 microphone. You can see that we're about 12 inches from the fretboard. Again, this is not an exact science, but just a good starting point. The other thing I wanted to mention is if you move the guitar around in kind of, you think about a 180-degree fashion from the 12th fret, you can get different tones. The last thing I'll say about positioning is if you are somebody that's really dynamic, moves a lot when you play, you do not want to be too close to the microphone, so I'd probably start with 18 inches between the guitar and the mic and even maybe possibly move it back from there. So let's get started with this tone. The next method I want to tell you about is called mid-side. So that has one microphone in cardioid pattern. So what that is picking up what's in front of it. So that will be pointed at the acoustic guitar, and you'll have another microphone that is spaced like this, and it's kind of on an XY axis. You can think of a mathematical grid, and that's picking up the sides. So that's in figure 8 pattern, and is picking up either side of the microphone. So you have sound coming from the front, the direct sound, and then sound on the sides. One of the great things about this method is that you still have the direct capture from the microphone. So even if you don't end up liking the side information as much, or you end up wanting to have a more focused sound, you can really dial that in. So this method you can use when you just want to get a nice, interesting stereo image. You could use this still for a guitar in a mix, but you want to get a little bit more width and depth on it. And you can use this for a solo guitar performance if you want to just have the guitar be a featured instrument. You can pick up more of the room sound and the ambiance and give it more of a three-dimensional quality. Let's take a look at this one closer. All right, so what you can see here is I've got the microphones in mid-side position. So I have this first microphone, the same one I had, pointing at me exactly the same way, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start about 12 inches from it, and I can adjust from there. Now, the beauty of this position is we always have that mono capture, that single microphone capture. So even if we don't like what this one's doing on the sides, we don't have to use that track. The thing about this microphone is it's set up in figure 8 pattern, so it's capturing out to both sides of the microphone. So we have this one pointing right at the guitar and this one going out to the sides. And we can blend those together. We can use just a little bit of this, or we can use a lot of this and get a stereo spread. This will capture the room a little bit more and less the direct sound of the guitar. This obviously is pointing right at the guitar, the 12th fret, so you're getting a lot of that direct sound. So I can also do this if I have something like back to our SM57, if I have that pointing at the middle and I have something like this, a ribbon mic, I can also set that up the same way where this is pointing at the guitar and this is going off to the sides. It really works well with stereo microphones, but if you don't have that, it's no big deal. You can experiment with whatever you have. I want to keep it consistent for this video, so we're really hearing the positions and not the different microphones. But whatever you have, experiment with that and see how it goes. Let's take a listen to this one. The third method I'm going to tell you about is an XY pattern, and that is when you have the guitars kind of on a mathematical grid XY pattern, and they are 90 degrees perpendicular to each other. And what you're going to capture with this is you're going to capture a wider stereo field, maybe a more interesting capture of the guitar. This would be used for when you want to have the guitar as a featured instrument, or you just want to get depth and have it take up a little more space in the mix. It could also be for something like you want an ambient guitar and you want it have to have a lot of stereo information, maybe have something else in the middle or some ambient music, something like that. But what it really gets is like puts the guitar as a featured instrument. It also captures some of the room sound. So this is if you have room with treatment in it and a nice sounding room, or you want to just capture the room sound, maybe you have a big open room and you want to capture it. This is also a good method to use for that. Let's take a listen. All right, so here we have a XY pattern, and what this is these are basically on a perpendicular grid to each other with the diaphragms of the microphone as close as you can get them. So right here we've got this one pointing this way, so this mic right here is pointing kind of towards the fretboard. This mic right here is kind of pointing past the sound hole here, and together they're making a wide capture of the guitar. So this capsule right here will have like a little bit higher sparkly sound because it's focusing more on the neck. Right here we'll have a lower, a little bit boomier, warmer sound because it's focusing more on the body. So let's do the same recording with this microphone array. The next thing we're going to do is look at an example of a more mellow fingerpicked song, and we're going to just compare mid-side mode and stereo mode. These are two popular ways to multiple mic a guitar, and a lot of times when people are doing just a solo piece, maybe they're doing a classical piece or a fingerpicking piece or a singer-songwriter piece that's very minimalistic and just has a guitar, they would consider these methods because it really can put the guitar in a really interesting image. So I'll just have these two methods. We'll listen to one all the way through, and I'll cut between the mix signal and the raw signal, and we'll do it for mid-side and then for XY mode. So let's take a listen to that. All right, friends, well, there you have it. 3 different ways to mic your guitars at home, getting a different acoustic sound. I hope that video was informative. If it was, please consider checking out some of my other videos or liking, subscribing, commenting. All that helps to get to more people. If you want to know more info about me, you can check it out below. Other than that, I'll see you next time. Happy creating.